Our final speaker tonight is Michael Shaw. Michael is the president of Freedom Advocates. He is an attorney, a CPA, a businessman, and a landowner. He is from Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz was one of the first towns that the globalist agenda was imposed upon, and Michael has been a leader in fighting back and exposing Agenda 21 and sustainable development. Here's Dr. Michael Shaw.
Well, thank you, Dr. Barry, because putting light on the truth of global warming makes it very easy to understand some of the demonic demonstrations of globalist activity here in the greater Spokane area. America is changing. This area is changing. Now, I'm not talking about the straightforward changes happening in town or improvements to rangeland. I'm talking about the change from the land of the free and the home of the brave to the land of the collected and the home of the enslaved. I was invited here to speak on how globalism, that is change, is invading northern Idaho and eastern Washington. After careful study, I have learned that many of the crazy policies that are being implemented here and all over the globe mirror an international program called Agenda 21. This is the United Nations agenda for the 21st century. It is also known as Sustainable Development. This program advances under many different warm and fuzzy sounding names and programs. We have a simple chart on our table up on the deck for those who want to become more immediately familiar with the warm and fuzzy buzzwords that work to disguise the programs, the dangerous policies behind sustainable development. We're going to take a minute to familiarize ourselves with some of these terms. You can see on the slide that environment, new economy, and equity are three of the terms. I'll talk about these in more detail later. But you can see words that you're recognizing from your local newspapers and politicians on this list include things like affordable housing, consensus, meaning the absence of any dissension, protect and preserve, quality of life, sanctuary, social justice, watershed, facilitator, best management practices, endangered species or invasive species, public-private partnership. How many remember from our school days that public-private partnership was the economic system devised by Benito Mussolini? In the 19th century, combinations of business and corporate activities was called economic fascism. Today, it is the model and the mode of business in America in every town across this nation, and people accept the idea of public-private partnerships as being something wholesome. Regional, that's about the abolition of boundaries. Collaborative, stakeholder. You have stakeholder meetings all over your community today. What stakeholders are those who drive a stake through the heart of private property. International baccalaureate. It's infiltrated schools in my county, and I've heard tonight that international baccalaureate programs are very proactive here in Idaho. School to work. Vision. There are visions for this new world order that are being proclaimed by all of our local politicians. Well, sustainable development is designed to change our political system and the American society. Its programs affect our homes, our property, our families, natural resources, neighborhoods, schools, water supply, finances, healthcare, jobs, and liberty itself. Sustainable development is an international program that is designed to control us from the cradle to the grave and from the bedroom to the boardroom. This is a page from the United Nations website, and you can see clearly, it's not working. Well, you can see at the top clearly that sustainable development and Agenda 21 come from provisions emanating from the United Nations. It states that Agenda 21 is a comprehensive plan, and when they say comprehensive, they mean comprehensive. Every aspect of living is controlled under the Agenda 21 protocol. It is a plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations system. Now, whoever thought that the city of Spokane or the city of Spokane Valley were United Nations organizations? It is United Nations system governments major groups in every area in which human impacts on the environment. Now, I live in Santa Cruz County, California. Santa Cruz County was an original model United Nations Agenda 21 area. I was even persuaded to sit on the local Agenda 21 committee in order to draft the predetermined document. My name was used, and it appears in the Santa Cruz local Agenda 21 text as a contributor. My purpose now is to alert Americans as the Agenda 21 program invades every community in the United States. When I use the words United Nations, globalist, globalism, Agenda 21, sustainable development, or sustainability, understand that these institutions, people, and programs advance a set of values that are antithetical to the American values of life, liberty, and property. Unfortunately, a person can find sustainable development infiltration right here. To fully comprehend and digest the essence of this infiltration, one must recognize and understand how these forces appear around us. Let me summarize two local conditions that reflect sustainable policy implementation right here. The first example is the Y2Y. The Y2Y is a corridor from the Yukon up in Canada down to Yellowstone. Woe to those who are landowners between the Yukon and the Yellowstone. The ultimate plan is for the Y2Y to run from the Yukon to Yucatan in Mexico, cutting a swath all across the western United States. The Y2Y is creating a wildland zone along nearly the full length of this continent. Land with a wildlands designation is ultimately planned to be off limits to you. Now, the second example is ICLEI. That's spelled I-C-L-E-I. It stands for the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. ICLEI is a so-called non-governmental organization, or NGO. It is located on every continent. It is dedicated, in its own words, to the implementation of sustainable development. ICLEI influences local jurisdictions through the use of incentives to adopt international policies in the name of climate change. That's why it's so important that we understand that the whole predicate for this, that is, that climate is changing due to man's activities, is a falsehood. ICLEI is a partner with local jurisdictions in building a one-world system of governance. Spokane is a dues-paying member of ICLEI, as is Sandpoint, Boise, and Moscow.